Hello, and welcome to the Weird Waves podcast. My name is Taylor, and this is episode 52. On this week's podcast, we are talking to Magalie Steve. She is a surfer and coffee aficionado who's currently living in Montreal. This is a fascinating episode for me. I was so excited to geek out and hear all about coffee machinery. Now, her Instagram totally caught my eye when I saw her ripping apart these giant, expensive coffee machines and fixing them. Super interesting. As I say in this episode, I believe that coffee and surfing go together like coffee and beer, or surfing and beer. I mean, they just complement each other so well, and so many people that surf enjoy a nice cup of coffee after surf, so it only made sense to pick her brain about surfing and also about coffee. I really hope that you guys enjoy this episode. I just think this one is super unique and very educational, and I really hope that you enjoy it.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Got
Nice
it.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Awesome.
Yeah, your audio sounds good and your video is good too, so we should be
Great.
good to go.
Great.
Awesome. I like your hand tattoo.
Oh, thank you. It's coffee.
I had a feeling. I feel like there's a little bit of a theme going on.
A little bit, eh? So where
So
are
I
you
get,
located?
I'm in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used to live in Indiana and surf on Lake Michigan. So
Okay.
that's kind of how we started the podcast. And I'm not really sure. We always find our guests on Instagram, and so I feel like I saw you tagged in something. And then I've been obsessed with your coffee machine inside posts. Oh my gosh. No, seriously. It's so like wild. I've never seen anything like that. I used to actually have a shop when I lived overseas above like a coffee roastery.
No way.
So I feel like I know like a decent amount about coffee, but nothing about the machines. So I felt like you had to be on the podcast. I'm sure you're very interesting. I feel like what you're doing is super interesting. And I know surfing and a good cup of coffee go together like, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly or something, especially in the cold areas.
I agree with that. Yes. That and beer. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's me. I just found you and I told my husband, I was like, look at this. She's like taking apart all these like crazy machines. It's like just so wild. So anyways.
Oh, that's so kind. It's really really fun. It's a really weird niche fun thing, kind of like river surfing, I guess. It's like, I mean, it's less niche now, but I think it used to be a little more niche than anything else. But yeah.
How did you get into this?
Oh my. So I like long story or like medium story? Short.
Well, we've got time.
Okay.
Maybe can you start by explaining what exactly you do and then maybe kind of go into it how you got to where you are?
Yeah. Do you like in terms of surfing or in terms of my business?
Let's start with your business.
Sure. Okay, so well, I guess it's tied together, but I used to wrestle competitively. And so I moved to Montreal for that reason. And then it broke my body. And at the time, I was very like kind of narrow-minded about what I wanted to do, whether it be work or sports. And so I did sports with like a very narrow-minded perspective back in the day, where it was like get from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. And when I stopped wrestling, I kind of had a big, like most people I think who compete, when they stop their sports in a competition setting, it kind of like flips the whole thing around. You're like, whoa, what is this world I live in? And I started doing more like outdoor sports and whatnot. And to get back to the business side of things, though,
Well, what age was this that you kind of stopped?
I stopped at the age of, I think, 18 when I got my first surgery.
Okay, so the track that you were on was it like competing to be like to go like in a professional route? Is that what you kind of were
No,
foreseeing or?
no, I was on Team Canada already, so I was competing with university level stuff, and I had just gone to Pan Am's, and so I was training for Worlds, and um, yeah, but my body was really broken, and I was like, maybe I'd like to walk when I'm 30. I don't know. And then I was, yeah, sounds like fun. um, yeah, so I was 18 at the time. But that kind of also changed my perspective on work. So I went back home, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with Gatineau. But
I am not.
all right, so it's across the bridge from Ottawa. Um, yeah, but it's in Quebec, and I did some university on and off in mainly law and conflicts and human rights. But all the while, I'd been working as a barista in coffee since I was about, I don't know, 16. And I just kind of kept coming back to it. And eventually, I started delving deeper and deeper. And then I started doing a lot more quality control and working for different businesses, probably over 20, trying to figure out, because coffee is kind of like anything else. You can do a lot of things in coffee. Um, and eventually I took apart a roaster with what we call a machinist. It's like a tool maker. And we took it apart, rebuilt it, modified it. And that's kind of, I think, when everything clicked. And I was like, oh, math makes sense. Mechanics is fun. I don't have to work in service for the rest of my life. So that's kind of when it all clicked, and it's also around kind of the same time that I was introduced to surfing, to river surfing, actually, because
Mhm.
I've been super adamant about not doing it for whatever reason.
Not surfing?
Yeah,
Oh.
I was like my partner who at the time had just started surfing with his buddy, and he's like really naturally great at everything sport wise anyway, and he's
My
like,
husband's like that too.
right?
So annoying.
Oh my gosh, they're like, yeah, I'm okay, and you're like, no, you're great. Oh.
Yep, I feel that so intensely.
Yeah, so he was like, you should really try this, and I was like, Cam, I'm a really bad swimmer. Like, I'm actually dangerously bad at swimming. He's like, hey, listen, we have a wave back home that's like really close to shore, and it's like a very easy beginner wave. But he was like, I'll be there with you, and so anyway, so I finally was like, fine, I'll try it, and I reluctantly tried it, and then I got really, really addicted. Kind of like I think we all do. We all kind of get hooked, and then it's like, and then you're in the water every day, like the majority of the day. Um, and yeah, and that's kind of how it started.
That's awesome. So is it when you started river surfing, were you like wearing a helmet and a life jacket and all of that? Because I know I've never actually surfed a river, but I know from the people that I've talked to that are super into it, there's a totally different aspect of like danger
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot, I think, of I think there's a lot of different philosophies about it. I can't speak for the majority of the community because I haven't been in the community long enough. But I can speak for like I guess our local folks. But there's like one thing where we're from is like lots of people tend to put their leashes on their knees rather than their ankles because but it depends which river wave you're at. Like some river waves are super deep, so there's really like the rock dangers aren't as present. But
mhm.
where we surf, there's there's a lot of rocks and a lot of like trees and stuff, so it's preferable to put your leash on your knees. A lot of people have life jackets as well. Lots of people, not lots of people, a few people wear helmets, but it's definitely a good idea. When I started, I had all of those things, and I still do, depending on the wave. Like there's some waves that I'll definitely wear a helmet, but there's also something where, especially in our region, we wear waist leashes a lot more, and Surf the Greats makes like they sell leashes, which is great because we really like are. Anyway, I'm a big proponent of wearing a waist leash. It's great.
I don't even know. Is it exactly what it sounds like? Like instead of on your foot, it's your waist? Okay, I should have
Exactly. Well, the thing is, you have like a quick access to it, because if you're like, say you're like your leash, and say your board's on one side and you're on the other side of a trunk or whatever, and then it's pulling you. It's really, really hard if you're against the current to like go like grab your leash on your ankle and like, or even your knees sometimes. Like, and if you've ever tried it, it's like nearly impossible independently of how strong you are. Whereas your waist is right there. So if you cut it to the appropriate length, then you're good to go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of it reminds me, I guess, of the idea of like they have those quick release leashes.
Yeah.
They still go on your ankle, but it's like for the big wave guys, or they use them in comps too. But it's like a slightly long tab, and it's less Velcro, and it's more like
yeah. It's definitely better to kind of, so to speak, lose your board than to, like, if you're in a bad situation, just stay there and have no way of getting out. So,
which is interesting because I feel like with traditional surfing, we'll put it in air quotes, but you kind of want the board as you're out, as like your flotation device,
absolutely.
which is super interesting.
Yeah, no, I think like I would much rather have to swim back to shore in a river than to like just drown.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's probably the smartest choice. I would have to agree with you on that one. So you are in Montreal. Is that correct?
I am now, but I'm from Gatineau, and the waves that I guess that you've seen on my profile are mainly Gatineau, Ottawa waves.
Okay, so there's not like a surfing scene or any rivers in Montreal, or it's just you're not surfing there?
There is. I'm not really in tune with it though. I moved here for work, so I haven't, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I haven't surfed in like a month and a half. The longest in the last like 2 or 3 years. So, but yeah, there's like, there's one like extremely small wave called La Magalie, and it's like a longboard wave. It's tiny, and it has like the biggest lineups ever, but it's a really fun way for beginners, I think, or people who like to longboard. And then there's this other wave, Habitat, and like that one has a couple of nice waves, and then there's some like really, 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 really gnarly rapids, where only a few people go. You need a jet ski for the most part, or you need to know where to paddle to not die.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's surfing here. Yeah, I'm just not. I've surfed here a couple of times, maybe like 20. But I think I'm really drawn to Ottawa, Gatineau, just because of the community mainly.
Yeah.
When I want to surf, I go back home.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how those little communities just are so different from each other? I've talked about it so many times on the podcast.
Really?
But
Okay.
yeah, well, just like especially in the like not traditional surfing realm, I feel like they're like, I don't know Gatineau, but I'm assuming it's smaller than Montreal. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so these smaller areas, there's like a scarcity
Mhm.
of resources, of like, knowledge maybe, or people. So the community gets like so strong
Yeah.
that um and is sometimes more maybe open towards other people because they've kind of built this like their bond, where sometimes in cities you don't, if it's too many people, it's too big, they don't want to ruin it, because it's like
Understandable.
um
Well, yeah.
yeah, and it is understandable. It's for me, the just the different people I've talked to and the different places that I've surfed. It is so interesting to see that, because I like when I came to the States and was surfing in Michigan, that's what I was craving, this like community that I had felt in other places before. And you don't know what it is until you actually have it. And then when you leave, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we have like just these. What I really like about the community is like it has grown a lot this year though, because I think there's a couple of guys from the community that were featured in a We Surf. I don't know if you're
Mm.
familiar with them, but they kind of We Surf make like it's like videos and stuff, and they're pretty popular in the surfing community. And I think it exposed a lot of our home waves to a lot of people. So this year we had a lot of people come from the States and from a bunch of different places, which was really cool. So it grew a lot this year. But what's really nice is that we have these like pillar pillar people who like name the waves, who are still surfing with us, and like they're like Trevor, for example, who's like a surf guru, and Paul, and Marco, and there's so many other people who just like um, kind of like they started surfing those waves with, and some of that like there were a couple people before them, I think, but like they've like really carried on like the culture, and they're super pro safety, which is awesome, which like they like actively talk about it, which is cool. And yeah, like I think the community is really alive thanks to their presence and their being there. Like it's not just a bunch of us young folks, it's like we're a lot of there's no ageism in it, so we're a lot of different people and just kind of all surfing together, which is nice.
It is so nice, and I think it's so valuable to have all the different ages, because all different people, they can learn from each other at the different levels. You've got like beginners that are like whatever 50 or 60. You've got people who've doing it been at for forever, and they might be 25. So that's the interesting things about spots like that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, it's really nice.
That's so cool. That's so is there like in that area, is there like a shop, or is there like a
Yeah,
central
there's
spot?
there's a small shop called Surfside in Ottawa, and that's pretty much. There's also like a diving shop, but I can't remember the name. But most people go to Surfside, but then I think a lot of people also get stuff from like Surf the Greats, because it's like really easily accessible, and they're amazing. Like they're so
Oh,
awesome.
they are. I feel like I talk about them every podcast, and
I love what they do. I just love them. They're great.
they're so great. And they, during the whole quarantine,
Yeah.
that they did you do any of the yoga
No, but I
things?
saw. I saw it and I kept being like, I should really do this. I should really do this. But no, I was surfing during quarantine.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah.
I was too, but I really like when I stopped working for like, a chunk of time at the beginning, there was just something about whatever, I think it was Wednesdays and Saturdays,
Yeah.
knowing that there was this like I could actually like see different people and like look at, like just actually, and for me, Surf the Greats is the perfect surf shop,
Mm.
because you don't get pressured into buying anything when you walk in at all.
So you've been like physically?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
we went.
cool.
Yeah, so we went. We actually had Antonio on the podcast. I think it's episode 13. I'll send it to you. It's really good.
Okay.
But we went there in Toronto. We actually looked into emigrating to my husband and I to Canada so that we could live in Toronto. We ended up going to Florida because, and thank God, because right, this was right before the quarantine, like
Yeah.
right. And it would have been a total absolute disaster. But just because of that, they're doing it in the best way possible, I think. Like they're reaching out to people. They've got all the different workshops I saw. They've got one coming up that's like water rescue. Like who's doing that? I don't see anyone doing that.
I want to go to that one. Oh my God, it's so awesome.
And it's so like you run a business. I also run a business, and I'm sure like it's only like maybe half of what you actually do, and the other half is like how you treat people.
Yeah.
And that is how you get people to spend money. Like, do you want me to spend money? Do cool like tutorials and workshops and different things to get me in there because I want to go there. I want to be around that.
Yeah.
We were there for like, I don't even know, 8 hours, like our whole day. We just hung out and drank coffee and we're reading books in there. And you've been there, right?
No.
Oh my God. You have to go and just hang out.
Oh, I was talking to, I can't remember who, but I did say that I was gonna come down next time, and like I know they have some coffee. I think they have Hale, if I'm not mistaken, and I've worked with Hale like back like a little while back, and yeah, I really want to go check out their setup and just meet them. They just all seem like the nicest people.
And great coffee.
Yeah.
Great coffee. Excellent flat white,
Oh,
which
there you go.
that's like, I'm not a snob with coffee, but it is so rare, at least like stateside, I feel like,
Okay.
to get a proper flat white, at least where I've been. And so to have like a really good one, oh, it was just heaven. It was heaven. So good.
That's so great. I'm so glad.
It's, we're gonna have to crop this and just send it to the guys and have them use it as an advertisement.
Yes, like it's so great. They're the best. Oh,
But the thing is that people know it. People do
yeah,
know that.
not like it's not any news. Like it's I don't know. They're just great. Even their like little words on their cards when they send you stuff, you're just like, oh, thanks, man. That's so nice.
I know. You guys are doing it right.
Yeah, yeah,
They're doing
absolutely.
it right for sure. Oh my gosh, so funny. So let's circle back around to coffee. I'm
Yeah.
so interested so you went from barista right into like breaking the machines apart,
Yeah,
or
no, I guess I skipped. I did a lot of stuff, a lot of different things in coffee, and I worked for a lot of different companies. So it's like kind of a long trail. But like most people, it started with barista, um,
Mhm.
and then I was convinced for the longest time that I wanted to be a roaster, until I realized that the only thing I liked about roasting was profiling, but production roasting is like the hardest, most like just it's a very repetitive and hard and like it's just a really hard job and it's a lot of like sitting down and looking at graphs all day long. So, so while I was trying to become a roaster, I was for the longest time I was always in quality control. So trainings and then like a lot of cuppings. So cuppings would kind of be like in layman's terms, it's kind of like if you've ever gone to a wine tasting or like a beer tasting. That's basically what it is, but for coffee in a professional, in like a lab setting where like we do that to evaluate coffees. Um,
Okay.
so quality control has to do with like sensory stuff, but there's also a lot of like science and math behind it. But all to say is that once I did get to roasting, I was like, oh, No. And then, but I knew that I really enjoyed the industry, and I wasn't like super jaded yet. So like, and despite being jaded, I really love the industry, but I am jaded. But what happened then was that I was kind of I was like, yeah, I was doing a lot of training, and then I kept looking at equipment and feeling like I was really powerless, and which is kind of odd because I grew up. My dad comes from a family of 16, and there are 12.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big family, and all the guys, so 12 of them are tradesmen. And my dad brought me in on jobs a lot when I was a kid, and I guess I forgot that I kind of grew up around a lot of trades and doing them here and there. But for whatever reason, I just didn't think that I was capable. And then one day I got really annoyed with myself and not knowing how to tweak something on a machine. And kind of like if you just didn't repair your dings on your board just because, not for any particular reason, but just because you were like, I don't know, I guess I've never thought that I was going to do it. And that's kind of how I felt about machines. And so one day I just got annoyed with that. And I got hired at a job to be a roaster. And I ended up working more on the mechanics of the machine and rebuilding it than actually roasting, because um, it needed a lot of love. And yeah, and then being someone who's never very good, not good, fast at math, um, it was a really cool realization, because once I could contextualize numbers, it all made sense. So that's what teching gave to me. That's what mechanics did for me, was contextualize a lot of things that I thought were abstract, and then started to make sense.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Sorry. Long story.
No,
Right?
that's what the podcast is. It's just talking. No, it's super interesting because I feel like, how old are you, may I ask?
I'm 24 now.
Yeah. I feel like there's a certain threshold after, I don't know, 20-ish, where things that you learn, at least what I've been hearing from people, I'm 26, things that you learned in school all of a sudden kind of go, oh, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have a reason to like use that information that's in
Yeah.
your, that you know how to use. So
Yeah.
like a practical application of skills. And I
Yeah.
think math is a big one, because if you don't have any reason to use it, it's like more like word vomit. You know that whatever x equals y or whatever the thing is, but if you don't have a way to understand how you can use it, it just kind of becomes weird knowledge.
Yeah, I think some people definitely like get it real fast, and they maybe don't need the context, but I think I definitely needed it and still need it today. But once that context is there, it does make sense, and it's quite interesting and fun.
Yeah, so you're regularly doing math now, essentially.
Yeah, in like plumbing's math. I do a lot of like, I don't do the hard plumbing because I mean, I'm not qualified, but a lot of what we do is around other trades. So you need to know enough about plumbing, enough about electrical and electricity, enough about like mechanics themselves, certain materials and metals, lots of metals and plastics and what we deal with, um, and fluids to really understand. And I mean, the knowing coffee part is the fun part that comes with like, I think having a deeper understanding of the philosophies behind machines and why they're constructed a certain way. Because if you say haven't really been in coffee on the barista side of things and you're working on this equipment, I mean, they're all built to do the same thing. They're just different systems, right? So it kind of, if I were to come into this as a general mechanic, I feel like a lot of this would seem like frivolous and irrelevant and like a
Mhm.
kind of, just adding a bunch of stuff for no reason. But knowing what the end goal hypothetically is supposed to be, a lot of it starts to make sense. Like, and I often take this examples, but different types of restrictors, like why are you working with a 0.06 milliliter versus like 0.07? Like what's the, and then knowing that it's about flow rate kind of makes it a lot more interesting than just being like, oh, it's just a 6 or a 7. Yeah. So
understanding the why, are you, I guess before your business, would it be common for a coffee shop to call like a general mechanic to fix their machines?
no.
No.
There are technicians. It's such a weird thing. It's a trade, but we're not like a unionized trade. We're not like a recognized trade, which is something
Okay.
I hope one day we can be. And there's some organizations that are working towards that. But yeah, no, there's a lot of technicians everywhere. And so if you're a coffee shop, it's a lot of word of mouth. So you'd know someone else who's in coffee who'd been like, oh, call this person. They'll know what to do. Or sometimes like people who don't know anyone will like watch YouTube videos and attempt to do it themselves, which sometimes is successful. A lot of times not, because you're working with like a pressurized system and electricity. But yeah, but all to say is that yes, like people will call technicians, but every technician has like specialties, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's really kind of weird and complex, but
No, it's interesting. But that's why it's interesting, because it's not something, at least from my perspective, like it's not something that you think about. You just don't, I just don't think about it, but actually it makes sense because the systems that people are using to make coffee, they're so unbelievably expensive. It's like a high tech piece of machinery, and I think that maybe that gets lost in between like the art of making coffee and the like art of like being in a coffee shop.
yeah, and it's a lot. I think that's why there's a lot. It's kind of like, I guess what shaping would be like, where it's like a science and a craft, and like
Mhm.
some people surf and shape, other people just surf, other people, like
Mm.
I think it's that kind of thing too, where like, for example, in the same way that a car mechanic, you can have like a general car mechanic, or you can have someone who works with specific makes and models. We have the same thing in coffee. So like, for example, I mainly, like I'm certified, quote unquote, Marzocco, Fetco, Water for Coffee. These are all like brands and makes that I've associated myself with and can work more proficiently with because of the experience and the contacts and the relationships. So there's the same thing in like for other techs, where like they'll have other make and models and other partners and so on and so forth. So we all kind of are specialized, so to speak, in whatever it is that we believe in terms of brands and manufacturers.
And is it like is there a generalized maintenance schedule where like even if you're not having any issues, you need somebody to come?
Yes, I'm so happy you brought that up. So this is something that not all techs, but definitely like, I mean, yeah, like I hope that all techs are proponents of this, because it is a thing. It's like changing the oil in your car. Like, okay, like if you don't do it, like your car will keep running for quite some time, but like eventually it'll just break, and it won't just break where that issue is. It'll break with a ton of other things. And so there is a general preventative maintenance schedule for all make and models, which are rarely followed, but really should be. um, they're every 3 months if you can, otherwise every like 4 months. But every manufacturer has their own schedule, and depending on what type of materials and valves they're using, they'll have different like lifespans. So they'll adjust their schedules per that. But I think like one thing that we often don't talk about enough is the water. So a lot of times I think it's like people will take care of their machines, but if you don't have good water going into your equipment, all of that is meaningless. And so there are also preventative maintenances to do on your filters, and you need to choose your filters well, not just like put random filters in. It depends what kind of water you have. And so I think that like when people choose their machines, they choose their machines and they budget for that. But I think a bigger amount of time and money should be spent with filtration systems, because that's ultimately what's going to keep it alive longer.
It's so crazy that we are talking about coffee, but I'm a hairdresser, and so much of this is the same with hair, actually, because you really need, for almost anything, like as soon as you move, you need to test your water. For hair, if you're buying a business, if you're doing something like what you're doing, you need to test your water. You need to figure out like what's actually in it. It's crazy how much difference it can be in so many aspects of your life. Is just water, like quality, but also like what's the pH, what's the mineral makeup, like what's the all of that stuff. And I'm sure it does similar things to like the pipes. It does the same thing to your hair. Like you get buildup on your hair. You get like, I saw your pictures of like scaling. That happens to people's hair too. Yeah. So you can get different buildup and stuff, and it can affect so much. And we like kind of like what you're saying about text, like if you're at a certain level, you know that is the most foundational thing for like each of your clients, that they have to know they should test their own water. They should know before even like coming to see you, or before solving any problem, like kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, I think I often get like I'd say 90% of the problems I have in Montreal, like in terms of calls, are water related issues. 90, like hands down. And I often kind of say like I can come fix it for you temporarily, but ultimately, as long as the filter like issue isn't fixed, that's just going to keep coming back. So there's only really so much I can do. It's not like a permanent solution. Really. So yeah, I agree. Like water is so much.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I think from a business perspective, like in my business and your business, and then also like same with surfing. Like it's just interesting when you go to different like places, you can feel the difference in the water. Like some of it feels like, I forgot where I was surfing on Lake Michigan, but it's like it feels like, I don't know, like sticky. Like it doesn't feel like I think it's an understood aspect of like how much it affects even the smallest things in your life.
Absolutely. I mean, we surf like in some river surfing, so fun for that, because you like depending on where you are in the river, it can go from like really awesome fresh clean water to some really nasty water. like we surf, like there's a couple places where we surf and it's really close to sewage. Like specifically one of our waves is called sewer wave, and I mean it's mainly because the water coming out is from the sewage system. But yeah, you can definitely feel it. Like when we go to cleaner places, we're like, wow, like I feel great, and you don't not like, because otherwise you want to get out of your wetsuit like as soon as you're out of the water.
Oh my God. I bet you have a strong immune system though.
Oh yeah, I think so. I don't know. We definitely get sick sometimes, but
oh my gosh.
There's this guy, not this guy, he's not a guy, he's a rat. He's a sewage rat. I call him Bob. He's often around there, and he just hangs out, and there's like definitely sewage rats, like muskrats around that place. So
Oh man.
yeah, fun times. He's lovely.
I like that you've named him.
I did. I like
He's local.
I love him. He's so friendly. He'll just like come swim next to you and you're like, don't come too close, but I still think you're cute.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
I
Oh
like
my
it.
gosh. That's so funny. So when you're surfing, like you mainly go between the two places that we've talked about. Have you gone on any like surf trips or surf travels?
Yes. So so I guess I'm going into my I'm gonna no. I've done 2.5 seasons now. And since I started, Cameron, my partner, and I, he started like maybe a year before me, but we both got really, really hooked. So we went, we went to a couple, every time we take time off, it's to go surf now. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess we've gone to Tofino, and Euclid. We've gone to Nova Scotia twice now. We've gone to Mexico, Costa Rica, and yeah, like there's been like just it's been really wild and crazy. I'm a terrible ocean surfer, like
I
hands.
was just gonna ask how the transition was.
I am awful, like actually terrible. My duck dives look like I'm drowning. Like I'm really bad, but but I have a lot of fun. So
That's the most important thing.
yeah.
And duck diving takes so long to get.
Oh my
It's
god.
so it's like a whole nother level as well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
like when we were in Mexico, that's mainly what I did because the lineups were so aggressive.
Um,
And I was just, um, I wouldn't say that my paddling wasn't strong enough, but my will to want to pass someone was not. I like because we have such a chill community back home, it felt so counterintuitive to be really aggressive in the water. Um, so I just practiced duck diving for like 2 weeks, and like, it was great. It was really really awesome. It was wild. There's some interesting breaks there. It was definitely cool, but yeah.
well, I think people don't practice duck diving enough, like anyways.
Oh
So you see a lot of like pretty horrible duck dives, and then it just becomes like if you don't do it properly, you
yeah,
might as well just like smash your body into the wave instead of trying to like because you're actually getting like the duck dive is using the energy of the wave crashing like behind you to propel you through the wave. So like
oh man.
if you're not doing it properly, then you're just like getting pushed back instead of getting pushed like under and out, if that makes sense.
That actually makes so much more sense than all of the videos I've I wish someone would have just said that. That's like dynamically so
It
sensical.
makes
Thank you.
well, yeah, so like you're moving forward. Let me try to this is going to be audio only. So let me try to like really you are propelling outwards towards where everyone else is surfing,
Yeah.
away from the beach, and the wave is going towards the beach and eventually it will crash and you want to go deep enough to where the energy of the crashing wave will push you out
Mhm.
behind it. So instead of push you back because some of
Yeah.
the energy goes in towards the beach, but some of the energy also kind of goes down and then gets pushed back out the other side of the wave. So it's
Mhm.
more about like depth and timing than I think a lot of people just try to go, ooh, just like get in there.
Yeah.
But I practiced duck diving. I had a surf. I had a friend who was a surf coach, and he told me that. That's how he explained it to me as well. And
Oh,
he's like, you just have to go out there and practice. So I would take a board that was smaller than what I usually rode. So it was like actually easier, not a
yeah.
lot of volume, to just get deep, 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 deep under. And then once you get volume and you feel it, you can feel that you're doing it correctly.
Uh-huh. That's so cool. No, that's awesome. We don't have that much. I guess that's why we do surf trips, because we only have river waves around
Mm-hmm.
here. So there's not like, we'll do it when sometimes when we have like long paddle back, like from a wave in the river, we'll like, in the eddies, like practice
Yeah.
as much as possible. But that's pretty much the extent of it.
No, but that's good. I mean, there's so many people that surf ocean and also lake waves that aren't practicing duck dive either. So you're
Yeah.
ahead of the curve, I would say.
Will you see me actually try? Oh man.
But
But
isn't it just about getting out there in a
yeah,
way, you
absolutely.
know?
Absolutely.
And
No, honestly, it's really hilarious. It's so much fun. And like, yeah, like most of the times that we've gone ocean, or now that you mention it, lake, because we have gone to like Picton a couple times to try to surf the lake there, which has been hilarious because the waves are so unpredictable.
yeah.
Like it's always been such a gnarly time independently, and just so much fun. And like we've often had times where the waves were there was so much more advanced than the caliber at which we were at. We just had so much fun, and we would just go out. Like the first time we went to Costa Rica, actually, this never happens because Langosta was great. Like it had a really nice swell, but we like started in Tamarindo, where it's like known to be like a noob spot where like there's really easy waves and stuff. And for whatever reason, there had been a hurricane, and so we actually ended up having like these like 7 and 8 footers, and we were like, well, we're here, right? So like, and I think it was our second time in the ocean. We were like, we got to do this, and we just went, and it was hilarious. Like we were just it was so powerful, and they were all closing out, and like it was just like it was so great. It was great. Yeah.
What is the why do you think the transition is difficult for you? Like, what is the difference between the waves or the way of surfing that makes it like difficult for you?
The timing.
Okay.
In river, you have time. You have time because as soon as in river, the most important thing is like catching the wave. Once you've caught it, like unless you're in like a really like in a wave that has steps, or like kind of a weird shape, even then like you have time to reposition yourself, and you have time to kind of feel the wave and like where it's pushing you and where it's pulling you, and you have time to feel like where the current is going or coming from, and like you can see the eddies. Like you have time. In the ocean, probably because I didn't grow up on the ocean, I mean, I really have a hard time reading the waters. And then when it comes to like the timing of like actually just even like once I'm in the wave, the surfing part is chill. Like that part is easy, so to speak. But it's the catching them that like the getting up part and how to do that. But you're speaking to like a hyper beginner like ocean surfer, right? So like I think a lot of people like once they have that, it's about like perfecting that. But from where I'm standing, it's just like the timing is very, very different.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
on the board too, like ocean,
Position?
yeah, like ocean, you're super like you're much more forward. You want your weight
Mm.
up, and then river, if you do that, you just nosedive. So like river is a lot more like center back, like you know what I mean, and because you can like I don't know, yeah, you like when you like a lot of times what we'll see. Actually, this makes me think of like my cousin, who's an amazing ocean surfer. His name is Olivier, and he has this like really cool Instagram. Actually, he's really just an amazing ocean surfer, and he came to surf river with us the first time I think last year, and it was really interesting to see because it took him like maybe like 5 or 10 times to like catch the wave and then understand how to get up. And I think we see that a lot for ocean surfers who are transitioning to river surfing, where like he would get up like kind of really aggressively on the board and like very forward, and then
Mm.
like just get washed away. But as soon as he got it, he was like shredding. It was so incredible to watch. We were like, oh, cool, yeah, you just do. He was so amazing, but there was, I think, that transition for him as well, and I think for everyone, just in your positioning on the board and getting up.
Yeah, I bet it's kind of similar to like snowboarders. I feel like snowboarders, they have that's where the gap is. Like even someone who's a super high level snowboarder, when you're starting, you're kind of starting like a stationary, and you're more like leaning on your back foot.
Yeah.
And then what becomes hard for them is, like you're saying, like actually timing the way to, because it's not stationary. It's moving force. It's kind of interesting to hear that. That's what I've wondered, is what that like transition is like.
Yeah, and it's also like, again, like reading a river is different than reading like the currents in an ocean or even a lake. Like it's the river's a lot more predictable, because like unless your rocks are moving, or like you can, like, we know that at this level, this is going to be here, and this rock will appear, and this little like current's going to be there, and like these eddies are definitely not going away. So it's a lot more predictable, I think, in that sense. Like visually, you can really, really see it and get a global picture.
What is an eddy? I don't actually know.
An eddy is when like two currents meet and then kind of create like a stable kind of patch that it kind of goes back the other way.
Okay.
I'm not explaining this well. Like I feel like that's the worst definition anyone ever gives. So let me just
Google break.
Yeah. Okay. A current of water or air running contrary to the main current, especially a circular current. Okay, a whirlpool, something moving similarly contrary circular current. Okay, so
it spins like in a circle.
No, not necessarily. Like that would be like a whirlpool, which can happen. It happens a lot actually. But no, it's like just two contrary currents that meet, and then sometimes like if you're like caught in an eddy, it'll be something that, like, say you're trying to swim back to shore, and then, or you're paddling back to shore, and then you hit an eddy. It's like that patch of water is usually a little more still, and it's not going in that same direction as the current. So you can either like chill there, or sometimes like in an eddy, you can get like kind of stuck, quote unquote.
Oh, is it like a rip in a way?
Yes and no. Like
okay.
no, but it's a different current. It's not going the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard about the whirlpools, but I did not hear about.
Who did you hear about the whirlpools from?
Jacob. I can't think of his last name. I'm sorry?
Was it Jacob Kelly?
Yes.
He's awesome. He came to surf with us.
Yeah, he's so cool. He gave us the like huge rundown on river surfing. That's where I got like the majority of my knowledge from would be from him. It was so wild to listen to him talk about it, but he talked about whirlpools, which as like as a lake or ocean surfer, it just sounds absolutely like so terrifying.
It is. It really. Did he say it wasn't? Some people think they're not, but
no, he said they were.
They're horrible. They're actually the worst. Like even when you do get good at being in a whirlpool and you react well, it sucks. It honestly just sucks. The worst.
It sounds scary. It sounds so scary, and it's so interesting to hear about like what are the different like fear. Every angle of the sport in a different aspect has these little like watch out for like the eddy, which I didn't even know what it was, or the whirlpool, or this and that, and so that's interesting. I heard you.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I heard you say season. So what is like a season for you guys? Is it a time frame? Are you looking for water like
Spring.
depth or volume or what?
Yeah.
Spring?
Well, so it depends where you are. Like Montreal season is not the same as Gatineau season, but Gatineau
Okay.
season is spring. So higher levels for us is good. Whereas
Okay.
I think Montreal is the other way around. But we want like higher when we have higher levels, that's when our waves come in, and we have a lot of dams, so it's like dependent on the snow and the ice melts up north. And I think there's a couple of dams, so like it varies with the seasons, but yeah, it's mainly spring. We can surf though all season. Like we can surf in the winter and stuff, but the like we did the past 2 winters, which was really fun, and there's like barely anyone because there's a lot of ice coming down in the winter. Like, and I'm talking like islands of ice and like huge ice. So you have to be really careful, and you're mostly going to destroy the board that you're using. So you have to kind of go from like a shitty board or like shitty fins because they're probably going to be mauled at the end of it. But it's so much fun because you go for like 30 minutes to an hour in like a 5'4", and you're completely like frozen. You most likely have frostbite a bit, and it's just, and you have ice all over your face. Like I don't have the ice beards, unfortunately. I wish I could grow a beard just to have an ice beard, but I tried to have like ice dreads that one year because I didn't have a hood, which was fun. um but all to say, it's just a really cool experience to do with your friends if you all surf together. Like it's a big struggle. You have to really like pump yourselves up to go. It's cold. The waves are not that big. It's really fun.
That's that sounds so fun.
It
So
is.
cool.
It really is. And like there's always someone, like we bring buckets of hot like burning water too. Like so there's like a couple of people who will like surf in the winter, and it like the gear's different. Like you bring like coolers filled with hot water, and like you bring like hot patches, and then you often also bring like whiskey or something to
To
keep
warm yourself up.
yeah. Yeah.
That's so fun. Sounds a little bit like winter lake surfing. It gets a little
Oh yeah.
hardcore.
I
I
like
think I
whiskey.
mean sometimes I forgot who used to put like a hot water bottle in a cooler and you can keep your like clothes in there to keep them warm.
Okay.
Which is like a nice pro tip because then when you get out of your cold stuff, then you put on your warm like clothes and they're all toasty and it's very enjoyable. I also like old Ugg boots or like some sort of like older ones and then you instantly like put your feet in them as soon as you get out of the water.
So awesome.
Very nice. Very,
Oh,
very nice.
awesome. I'm gonna try
That's
that.
yeah. I mean, not obviously not new ones, but like either like older ones. I think I got a pair that were like secondhand or something for cheap because I knew they would just be nasty. But then as soon as you get out of the water, your feet are in like lamb's wool.
That's awesome.
So warm and cozy. Very nice.
Oh, I'm gonna try that. I'm really gonna try that. Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah. Winter.
Pro
Surfing.
winter surfing. That's I mean for us that was our season in on
Oh,
the lakes.
oh
Was
really?
like fall to winter. I
No way.
mean,
That's your
yeah,
friend?
well, until the lake freezes over basically, yes.
Okay.
But I think fall is the best because it's like not too cold. The water temperature is still warm.
Yeah.
Because
Do you
it does take
wear?
what?
What size like what male do you wear?
Some people did 6'5". I had a 6'5" the
Holy.
last winter season, but I had a really good one that was flexible, and it was actually better than my 5'4", because my 5'4" was like older. It was like an older Roxy, like I think actually I saw some of your pictures that's similar to what you have or
Yeah,
had. The
five,
gray one.
yeah, like a 5'4'3".
Yeah, it's a Roxy one though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I had that exact same one, and I got a different one that was a 5'4", and like the neoprene is so much stretchier that I could actually wasn't as restricted paddling. Like it was super nice.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I that's a huge upgrade. Is if you can have the stretch, then you don't feel so restricted, which is the worst about wearing like such a thick suit, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like, yeah, I just got like this new Patagonia one, and
Mm.
I feel like I am going to suffocate and choke to death because I think the sizing's a little smaller. But I've been
Oh,
told that they're really, really, really good. And I think like, yeah, I think it's really important to have a flexible suit. Otherwise, you're just like, I don't know, like you said, like paddling is just not fun.
yeah, because you feel like a Michelin man or whatever, like a marshmallow. Yeah. I mean, your wetsuit should be snug, but
Mhm.
it shouldn't be so snug that you're like restricted, so you might want to do a size up. I know that Patagonia, they're new in the wetsuit game. They haven't been doing wetsuits for that long.
Mhm.
So their sizing is like they're figuring out, I still
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll have to try it out.
Yeah. So I have three more questions for you, and then we will wrap it up. But the first one is, what is the weirdest wave that you've ever surfed?
Right. Okay. So so I have kind of like two, one of which I didn't successfully surf, um, and one that I have. So the one that I didn't successfully surf was a tidal bore, and it was a fluke moment when we were coming back from Nova Scotia and the swell had been terrible. We really didn't get to surf much and we were really desperate. And Cameron was really desperate and was looking up like any waves on the and he was like, okay guys, there's this tidal bore in this next town. If we do like an hour detour, we actually are right on time to go catch it, so let's do it. And we were like, okay, cool. And it was so funny. Like, so we get into this town and people have boards on their cars that are like 8 feet long, like almost like huge subs, like just huge boards. And we all have like 5'4", 5'6" boards, like fish. And we're like, no, we're good, right? And then so we get in the water and you have to go down this like huge mudslide, and I like ripped my suit and we are just like, it was so strange. And then we're like all in this water, this like really brown kind of gross water, and we're three people, but it's also like it's apparently it's like a tourist attraction to come see the tidal bore. So we were just but so we were in the water, and the vibes were really funny. And then all of a sudden we see the tidal bore coming, and it was the coolest thing ever to watch that kind of like pummeling towards you, and you're like, whoa, oh my gosh, and you only have one shot to catch it. And we were like, holy shit. And then so we had to catch the whitewash, but the thing is that the whitewash just kept moving like left or right. So we were like, where do we go? And this wave was tiny, like it was very small, like real. I don't know how anyone could have like caught it with a 5'4". Like maybe if you were like perfectly spot on the whitewash. So we didn't catch it, we didn't surf it on our stomachs, but we kind of went through it, and it was the weirdest, coolest thing we've ever, I think, collectively surfed, um, without having actually surfed it. So that's the first one. The one that we actually have surfed quite a bit is this wave in Wakefield, Quebec, which is like an on and off wave. It never comes on or off. It's not interrelated with the water levels, so it's really hard to know. Like it's super random. Like sometimes the levels are really low and it'll be there, and sometimes the levels are really high and it'll be there, and then it won't in both those scenarios. And the reason it's like it's really there was a year ago or a year and a half ago there's a huge flood in our region, like mega floods where like houses, and it was terrible, but it was great for surfing. And this wave appeared, and it was like it's just a huge mosh pit. It's so scary, it's so huge, and it's a right, but it's so weird because you can get like basically flushed and like be like you're basically out of the wave on the right hand side, and you're like flushing, and then and you're like you can feel that your board's like almost flat, and then all of a sudden you're back in the wave, and it's kind of almost like there's
Wild.
a wave in the like behind the wave. It's so weird to explain, but like it's just the coolest thing. And sometimes there's steps in the wave, but if the levels are really high. So it's just like overall a really interesting and hard to surf well and like nicely wave. So super weird.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What is your biggest oh shit moment while surfing? Or what was, I guess?
My biggest ocean moment.
No, oh shit. Oh shit.
Oh shit. I was like ocean. I'm like, oh my God. Like um my biggest oh shit moment was okay, can I say two again? Is that okay?
Yeah.
My biggest oh shit moment number one was an oh shit of like awe. AWE, like awe. When I went through Desert Wave the first time, which is one of our home waves, and it's a 15-minute paddle out and a 15-minute paddle back. And it was I didn't go. I was being shown the wave for the first time, and it was the first time that I saw a wave in the middle of the river where I actually had to paddle like a bit to get there, and it was like the sunset, and it was breathtaking. Like it was, I don't even know how to describe this, but like the wave is like, this wave is just like, I don't know. It's like it's just a whole other thing, and it's like alone, and you're just like when you're with that wave, you're alone with it. It's just like it's a crazy feeling, and it's so powerful, and it's not the easiest wave to catch. So it was an oh shit moment. That was like an oh shit beautiful moment, and then the other oh shit moment I've had was when I got stuck in a whirlpool in Montreal, where I was like, it was like an oh shit. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because it was like an oh fuck moment where I was like, I was like, I was swimming back, and it's so lame because like this wave is not that crazy. It's like it's a nice wave. It's a fun wave. You have to paddle there, but like the after the wave is so much crazier than the wave itself. So it's kind of like it's so uneven. And so I had surfed the wave, and I was like, okay, cool, that was fun. And I get off, and I think it was one of my first times. So like I could see the shore, and I could kind of see the eddies. So I was kind of taking my time paddling back, but I had no idea that I shouldn't have taken my time and gotten off where I had gotten off, because you get pulled into an eddy that pulls you into where the whirlpools are. And they are like, so anyway, so I'm like paddling back, and then I like start to feel my board getting sucked under, like from the bottom, and I'm like straight, like my board is like is vertical at that point, and I'm like, what is going on? And I start like spinning, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm in a whirlpool. And I look around and I could see other whirlpools forming, but like they were massive. Like the center was visible, which just means there's like a ton of power. And I could see it, and then like it was dragging my board down under, and I gave like a really big kick and somehow got out. But this happens to a ton of people, but it was definitely one of those moments where I was like, oh fuck, this is like really not. Yeah.
So my last question for you is, what is next for you?
In surfing or in life?
Whatever. Both.
Well, surfing wise, we're going back to BC in September, but we just bought land back in Gatineau. So the hopes are to like establish ourselves back at the home waves because it's great. And then
Awesome.
yeah,
Congrats.
thank you. But yeah, I think like I would love to take a year off of my business somewhere down the line and kind of emulate what Jacob did and just like follow in his footsteps and go see all the river waves because I really like those. So yeah, that'd be nice.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing this. This was so
you.
fun and super like informative.
Oh, thank you. You were awesome to speak with. I really appreciate it.
And that was episode 52. I really hope that you guys enjoyed that. I hope that I did not butcher the French pronunciation of that name too badly, but I did give it my best shot. And if you guys want to reach out to her, you can find her on Instagram. I will link all the information in the description. And of course, I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope that it's not too flat where you are because it is summertime, so we're praying for waves down here in Florida. I hope that you're getting waves wherever you are. And of course, I will see you next Monday with another episode. Have a great day, guys.